Yiju was adopted into a wealthy family, but she never truly felt like she belonged, so she learned to be satisfied with whatever little affection she received. But one day, everything falls apart. At the family's gallery, her stepmother publicly blames Yiju for a fake painting scandal. In front of everyone, Yiju becomes the one taking the blame. And that's when she realizes something even worse. Her marriage was never real. Her husband never loved her. He only married her to stay close to her sister. And now he wants a divorce. All Yiju ever wanted was to be loved and finally feel like she belonged somewhere. Heartbroken, she leaves and gets into a terrible car accident. Even in the hospital, while lying on her deathbed, her stepmother visits her only to mock her one last time. With her final breath, Yiju wishes for one thing, a second chance. And then she dies, but instead of everything going dark, she wakes up 1 year in the past. This time she remembers everything that's about to happen. During the wedding dress fitting, she calls off the wedding and decides she's done living for other people. But cancelling the wedding was only the beginning. Knowing exactly how much her sister wanted Seo Do-guk and how deeply her mother favoured her, Yiju chooses him as the first step of her revenge. She meets Seo Do-guk and unexpectedly proposes a contract marriage. Her sister arrives and sees them together, and just like that, Yiju's plan starts to move forward. Back home, Yiju is reminded that nothing in this family has changed. She is punished and locked in her room. But this time, things don't go according to plan. Seo Do-guk shows up at the family home and announces that he intends to marry Yiju. And when her father questions him, Seo Do-guk calmly explains that he had already rejected the idea of marrying her sister, even when she kept trying to arrange meetings between them. As everything unfolds in front of her father, Seo Do-guk takes Yiju's hand and walks her out of the house. As they leave the house together, Yiju realizes that maybe her future doesn't have to stay the same. Later, while trying to calm down and eat something, Yiju suddenly struggles and tears fill her eyes. Concerned and confused, Seo Do-guk asks her what's wrong. That's when she admits that ever since she was young, she could never fully trust the food at home after being poisoned more than once. Seeing how deeply those scars still affect her, Seo Do-guk can't ignore her anymore. And instead of just accepting her plan, he decides to stand by her side for real, helping her with her revenge. Wanting to protect her, Seo Do-guk prepares a room for Yiju in his apartment, a place where she can finally feel safe. Unlike the cold room she lived in at home, this space was prepared for her comfort, not her isolation. The two sign their marriage agreement. When he asks how long she wants this marriage to last, Yiju quietly looks at the countdown, only she can see, and answers, 1 year. Believing his family would never accept Yiju, her stepmother pushes for the two families to meet. At the same time, Yiju tries to get closer to Seo Do-guk's mother by joining her cooking class. She brings a painting as a gift for the cooking instructor and asks to be accepted. Surprisingly, she agrees. For the first time, Yiju feels like someone is willing to see her without judging where she came from. At first, Seo Do-guk's mother wasn't supportive of the marriage, but everything changes when she unexpectedly visits his apartment and sees something she hasn't seen in years. Her son finally sleeping peacefully. Realizing how much this relationship means to him, she decides to put her son's happiness first and arranges a meeting between the two families. But Yiju's stepmother still believes that someone like Yiju, an orphan she raised, could never belong in a family like this. So during the meeting, she tries once again to humiliate her. But this time, Yiju doesn't stay silent. She presents a painting she made herself as a gift for Seo Do-guk's grandmother. The moment her stepmother sees it, she quietly asks to speak with her alone for a moment. That's when Yiju finally turns the tables. She reveals she has documents signed by her stepmother, proving that the painting once sold as an original was actually fake. And for the first time, Yiju warns her. If she tries to humiliate her again, everyone at the table will learn the truth. For the first time, Yiju isn't trying to survive her family, she's standing up to them. And from that moment on, the balance of power begins to shift. A new conflict begins to surface within Seo Do-guk's family. His older half-brother tries to use Yiju to get to him, taking advantage of their broken relationship. He arranges a meeting near the sea, knowing Seo Do-guk suffers from a panic disorder around water. Seo Do-guk rushes there, and only then realizes it was all part of his brother's plan, to expose his condition in front of Yiju. The situation quickly spirals out of control, and he ends up collapsing in her arms. And for the first time, Yiju sees that behind his calm appearance, he has wounds of his own. After the incident, Seo Do-guk's family pushes to speed up the marriage as Yi-ju gains the trust of his mother and grandmother. Yi-ju begins searching for answers about her past and visits her grandfather to learn more. But she is forced to hide when her stepmother suddenly arrives, and what she overhears leaves her in complete shock. She had been adopted, but she was actually her biological father's daughter, a secret her stepmother and grandfather had kept from her all these years. Everything she believed about herself suddenly starts to fall apart, and before she can even process the truth, the wedding day arrives. Inside, Yi-ju feels like she's burning from everything she has learned, and even then, her stepmother doesn't stop. She tells her that her father didn't come because she was never truly his daughter. For a moment, Yi-ju almost reacts, but Seo Do-guk stops her just in time, and somehow she gets through the day, standing still, holding herself together. After the wedding, Yi-ju leaves to clear her mind, and Seo Do-guk follows her, even though he is still fighting his fear of water. At the beach, he finally opens up. He tells her about his brother and the accident at sea that destroyed their relationship. How he was blamed for something he never did. How even his father refused to believe him. Years of silence, carried alone. Then he tells her why he came. Because he missed her. Because somewhere along the way, she became someone he cares about deeply. That night, Yi-ju finally breaks. She tells him she can't trust anyone anymore, and through tears she reveals the truth. She is her father's real daughter. Seo Do-guk doesn't try to fix her. He only tells her she doesn't have to carry everything alone, and for the first time, she lets herself be held. But peace doesn't last long. The marriage contract is exposed in front of the entire family. The shock is too much for Seo Do-guk's grandmother, and she collapses. At the same time, a new scheme is already in motion. Yi-ju's stepmother joins forces with Seo Do-guk's older brother, who doesn't want to see him happy and resents him deeply for the past. As part of their plan, she pushes Yura and him to appear publicly as a couple, creating tension and slowly unsettling the balance inside Seo Do-guk's family. Behind the scenes, Yi-ju's stepmother is also poisoning her own husband's medication, trying to weaken him so she can take control of the company, and she secretly works with the grandfather's lawyer, bribing him with fake medical documents to declare him mentally unfit, so she can seize his shares. The truth is slowly turning into a war for power. Later, Seo Do-guk reveals the recording, proof that he never pushed his brother during the childhood accident, proof that everything they believed was a lie. Years of resentment collapse under the truth, and the grandmother makes her decision. No more accusations, no more family wars. The two grandsons will compete for the company, and only one will prove he deserves to lead. Meanwhile, Yi-ju continues digging into her past, and for reasons still unknown, her stepmother's secretary secretly begins helping her. Through him, she tracks down the housekeeper who once worked in their home. The housekeeper finally reveals what she heard years ago, hidden inside the closet, a voice asking, "Why didn't you die?" And in that moment, Yi-ju understands everything. Nothing in her life was ever an accident. As Yi-ju continues going through the notes her grandfather had slowly put together for her, another truth comes to light. The fire. The one that took her mother. It wasn't an accident. According to what he discovered, her stepmother was behind it. For a moment, Yi-ju completely falls apart. Not because her mother left her, but because she realizes she was taken from her. Years of loneliness and believing she had been abandoned suddenly turn into anger. She goes straight to her father and places the DNA test in front of him. She tells him the truth. She is his daughter, but he refuses to believe it. Instead of arguing, Yi-ju quietly pulls a strand of hair from her head and places it in his hand. Search for the truth yourself. Before leaving, she tells him one more thing. The medication he's been taking is making him sick. She recognizes those pills. Her stepmother used to give her the same ones, but when her father ignores her warning, Yi-ju decides to act on her own. To stop her stepmother from taking the company, she starts investigating the shareholders, and she discovers something unexpected. Her cooking instructor owns shares, and suddenly she remembers. That day she noticed the burned scar on her hand, the way she always looked at her, the way she stayed close, the warmth she showed her from the very beginning, and for the first time, a thought she had never allowed herself to have enters her mind. The fire, her mother. Could she still be alive, confused and unable to ignore it anymore? Yi-ju goes to meet her. Through tears, Yi-ju asks the questions she carried all her life. Why didn't you look for me? Why didn't you tell me? Why stay beside me pretending to be someone else? And finally, her mother tells her the truth. After the fire, she woke up 6 months later. Her father told her her daughter had died and sent her away. Years later, before his death, he confessed. Yi-ju survived. She had been left in an orphanage, so she came back. She found her. But after all those years, she became afraid. Afraid Yi-ju would reject her, so she stayed close. Not as her mother, just close enough to protect her. Unable to hold back anymore, Yi-ju asks for one thing. Help me defeat her. But neither of them realizes someone is outside listening. Her stepmother. And in that moment, she realizes the one thing she never imagined. Yi-ju's mother survived. Panic quickly turns into action. She immediately calls a shareholder meeting and tries to take control of the company using her husband's illness. When Yi-ju demands answers, people move to stop her. But before anyone can, a voice interrupts. Her grandfather. He walks in and tells them to take their hands off his granddaughter. Then he makes his decision. Every share he owns will go to Yi-ju, and he will personally prove he is not mentally ill. For the first time, her stepmother looks afraid. She rushes home, convinced her husband will stop this. Instead, he is waiting for her. He already knows. About the medication, about the lies. Then he shows her something she never expected. A DNA test. He looks at her and finally says the words Yi-ju waited her whole life to hear. She is my daughter, and this time he chooses her. Then he throws his wife out of the house. And for the first time, her stepmother loses control. With her cards blocked and nowhere left to go, she disappears and turns to the only person left willing to help her. The man who helped her set the fire years ago. And finally, another truth comes out. He is Yu-ra's real father. Yu-ra starts suspecting the truth, but before she can let herself think about it any further, something else completely takes over her thoughts. She discovers she's pregnant. Meanwhile, Lee Jung-hye prepares her escape. She secretly plans to sell the remaining paintings of Sun Jin and disappear before everything collapses. But when they arrive to collect the paintings, they see someone outside. Yi-ju. Panic turns into desperation. Her stepmother gives only one order. Hit her. As the car speeds toward Yi-ju, she freezes, until another car crashes into theirs. Seo Do-guk. Once again, he puts himself between her and danger. The police arrive. Both are arrested, but the biggest revelation comes after. As police seize the paintings, the secretary recognizes an elderly man among them. Sun Jin. His father, long believed dead. At the station, the truth is revealed. Lee Jung-hye hid him away, forced him to paint, declared him dead, and profited from his work. Everything starts collapsing. The recordings, the lies, the attempted murder, even the man who helped her turns against her and reveals the instructions she gave to kill Yi-ju. Cornered by the truth, her stepmother loses control. She tries to attack Yi-ju herself, but Seo Do-guk steps in. Later back home, Yi-ju notices something by accident. A mark on Seo Do-guk's hand, the same mark she carries. And suddenly, everything stops. She realizes he knew. All this time, she looks at him and quietly asks, "Did you die too?" Seo Do-guk finally tells her the truth. During the accident, their cars collided, and both of them died. He came back too, but he never told her. Because all this time, he believed her death was his fault. Yi-ju feels completely lost. Too many truths, too many lies, too much to carry. Overwhelmed, she quietly prepares to leave. But Seo Do-guk stops her, not to ask her to stay. He simply tells her, if someone should leave, it will be him. At the same time, another crisis unfolds inside his grandmother's company. A serious accident caused by his older brother's mismanagement leads to the death of an employee. Seo Do-guk exposes the truth, and his brother is taken into custody. Meanwhile, Yi-ju receives a message from her mother asking if she's okay. She goes to see her, and for the first time, they speak not as strangers, but as mother and daughter. Yi-ju admits what she had been afraid to say for so long. She thought Seo Do-guk stayed beside her out of pity, but her mother gently tells her she is wrong. Pity doesn't wait. Pity doesn't protect. Pity doesn't stay. Love does. When Yi-ju returns home, she finally lets go of the anger she carried after learning the truth. She forgives Seo Do-guk for hiding the mark from her, not because it didn't hurt, but because she understands now that he had been carrying his guilt alone. Not long after, Yi-ju discovers she's pregnant. When she tells Seo Do-guk, he says nothing at first. Then he smiles. Not because everything is perfect, but because for the first time, their future feels real. Still carrying the fear of the countdown on their hands, they visit a shaman together. They ask the question they avoided for so long: what happens when the time runs out? But the answer is simple. Don't live in fear. Live, love, be grateful for the time you have, and leave the rest to God. For a while they try to believe it, but peace never lasts long. Seo Do-guk's older brother stages a suicide attempt and escapes during transport. While the police search for him, he kidnaps Yi-ju. Seo Do-guk rushes after them, and when he finds them, the two brothers face each other again. At this time, everything comes out. No more lies, no more hiding. His brother suddenly stabs Seo Do-guk. Even while bleeding, Seo Do-guk still protects Yi-ju. As he stops his brother from reaching her, a truck comes straight toward them. Thinking they'll be hit, Seo Do-guk throws himself over his brother, but at the last second, the truck avoids them. Yi-ju looks down at her own hand. The mark stopped counting. His brother is arrested again. Seo Do-guk is rushed to the hospital, seriously injured. After that, their father visits his older son in prison. He tells him it's over. From now on, he is alone. Meanwhile, Yura goes to Seo Do-guk's family and asks to stay. She says her baby should not suffer for the father's mistakes. But his grandmother only says one thing. First, a DNA test, then we decide. For the first time, Yura is afraid. Seo Do-guk is in a coma for 2 months. After surgery, he finally wakes up. And for Yi-ju, it feels like breathing again after drowning. She quietly holds him in her arms, afraid that if she lets go, she might lose him again. Yura visits Se-hyuk and tells him she's pregnant. Whether he is ready or not, he has to face it. And finally, Yi-ju and Seo Do-guk register their marriage. Not because of a contract, not because of survival, but because they choose each other. And sometime later, we see them together. With their daughter, no countdown, no fear, just the ordinary happiness they fought so hard to earn. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe for more drama recaps.